Let's start with the game Gukesh vs Suleymanli from the India vs Azerbaijan match. Gukesh scores the first win for Team India against Azerbaijan. He takes down Aydin Suleymanli with the white pieces in dominating fashion, creating a winning position right out of the opening. On the board, we have the position after Black's move 10, namely, Knight h5. The idea here is simple. Black wants to exchange the bishop on g3, and then count on the fact that his own bishop from a7 will be super strong. However, this move Knight h5 has a tactical flaw. In the game, Gukesh paused for a couple minutes and played the move Knight takes e5. The problem is that in case of Knight e5, after bishop takes e5, d takes e5, queen h5, White would have gained a pawn and retain a huge advantage for the rest of the game. That's why, in this position, Suleymanli played the critical continuation, Knight takes to g3. The game saw bishop f7, king f8, knight g6, king t7, f takes g3. So here, Black has to take the bishop on f7. And after knight h8, queen h8, we have a rather unusual position and a very curious material imbalance. Black has two minor pieces, while White has a rook and two pawns. Usually, that is a fair exchange, but here there are other specifics of the position that are also important. For example, the Black king is super exposed and is very open to an attack for White. On the other hand, the minor pieces, they are pre-isolated. After the move d4, which happened in the game, it wasn't clear how the bishop from a7 and the knight on c6 are going to get any activity. So, let's see the next critical moment of the game, and jump to move 34. So here, we can tell that, almost 15 moves later, the Black pieces haven't made any progress at all. The bishop is still on the same place, and the knight on the a is placed even worse. Well, Gukesh for certain knows how to navigate such tough positional decisions, and he got to a position where he has the full domination. In the last move of the game, Suleymanli played the move g4, as queen takes f5 was impossible right away. What would have happened is that, in case of queen f5, the game would have ended with queen e7 checkmate. That's why the game saw the continuation g4. But here, it was already too late for Black to save the game. After h6, White created yet another threat that is difficult to counter. I mean, he just wants to play a7 and h8 queen, right? Again, the problem is that queen takes h6 is simply not an option, again because of the move queen e7 checkmate. So instead, the game saw queen takes f5, h7, counting on the fact that if queen h7, there is rook e7 picking up the queen. Black responded with queen b1, and after queen e1 takes, Black resigned. This was, as, after the only move that prevents the pawn from queening, king g7, White can still grab a full piece and transpose into a trivially winning endgame. The game could have continued with rook e8, king takes h7, rook d8, and in the next couple of moves, White will simply win all the pawns. Let's see the next game. In our next masterpiece of today's round, we're going to take a look at the game Vasyl Ivanchuk vs Richard Rapport. It wasn't all about long grinds. Hungary owed its victory over the previous day's heroes Ukraine to an absolutely crazy win by Rapport over Ivanchuk. It involved an involuntary king march and wild complications that drove Ivanchuk into time trouble in a position where you could probably spend days analyzing. Let's take a look from the moment things went off the rails. In this position, the Ukrainian GM played the move a4, threatening black's queen. However, Richie didn't want to escape. He had other plans in mind, as he played the move knight to d3 check. After king d2, he sacrificed a piece with queen b2, king takes d3, and knight to a6. Black's idea is that in exchange for the knight, he has tremendous initiative and already has all sorts of threats. On the next move, if unchallenged, he would go knight c5, he would bring the rooks to c8, the other rook to d8, and black's attack would simply be unstoppable. For this reason, Ivanchuk played the move rook to c4, countering the threat of knight c5. The game continued with rook a to d8, pinning the bishop and threatening to win it for free after e6. Here, in time trouble, Ivanchuk committed a big mistake. He played the move bishop to e5, counting on the fact that after e6, he would have queen f6 in response. With this move, he would threaten checkmate on both g7 and h8. And at first glance, it appears that this works, that white would be able to win the game, as there is no way for black to defend those squares. This simply is not the case though. The game saw the continuation, rook takes d5, king e4, and here Richie played the move rook to e5, simply taking the bishop. After king to e5, white is still up material as he has an extra exchange, but his troubles are bigger than that. The king on e5 is very vulnerable, and black's attack simply continues to march on. The game saw queen e2, looking for a better place for the queen, rook d4, and here another fantastic quiet move. Richard played the move knight to b8, aiming to bring the knight to c6 and help the attack against the white's king. Game continued with rook to d6, queen to c4, cutting off the white king on the fourth rank and making sure it never goes back. Queen to f4, and actually here, Vasyl flagged. He couldn't make the move queen f4 on time, and as he pressed his clock, it showed 0-0. Well, the thing is, he really shouldn't be regretting losing on time, as his possession was already lost. For example, here, after f6, black would win tons of material, as white would be forced to go queen takes f6. Then, knight c6, rook takes c6, queen d5, and after king f4, black simply picks up everything, rook f6, the king moves somewhere, then we can even take on c6, and it is too much to handle. It's a full extraqui, right? Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.